Okay, so you mentioned that you've been avoiding picking your children up or bathing them, and picking things up off the floor, and picking the keys up. You said was something that you'd avoided doing. Can I ask why you stopped doing those things?
Well, it just really hurts my back, and I'm just really worried that I'm just doing more damage every time it kind of hurts.
Okay. So if I understand that correctly, doing those sort of activities, whether that's bending or lifting, makes the pain worse, and you're worried that you're causing more sort of damage. Is that
correct? Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
and that's a completely logical thing, because we certainly associate pain with damage, but actually when we look at studies, and certainly my experience with patients is quite often that's not the case. For example, do you ever have headaches?
Not really, no.
Okay, or anyone in your family have migraines or anything like that?
Yeah, my sister actually suffers with migraines quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if we take a migraine, and when she has a migraine, your sister, is it quite painful?
Yeah. She goes to bed and darkens the room and is out of action for a while.
And when we look at migraines, if we were to take an image of her, which do you think we'd see any damage? Is there any structural damage to her head or her brain?
No, I don't think so.
But it's really quite painful.
Yeah.
And that's quite often the same across the system. That actually it's not a structural change, but it's a change in the sensitivity of your nervous system. Does that make sense? How you can have a lot of pain with very little damage?
Yeah, I suppose so.
And a bit like if you always hear about soldiers in a kind of frightening situation where they might get shot but they don't realise it until later, and it's very much based on the context in which you have that kind of assault. So in that case you'll have a lot of structural damage but almost no pain. Yet you can have the reverse, whether that is a migraine where you have loads of pain, and that's a very real problem, but there's no structural change. It's actually based on a kind of bit of an imbalance between your kind of happy chemicals and all your chemicals that make things quite sore. So while it's really logical, I completely understand where you're coming from with avoiding that movement. Sometimes over time that can become the main barrier that we need to address. Now, does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose it does. I just haven't really thought about it like that, but yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, and again, if we were looking at it, for example, you mentioned you'd broken your ankle a couple of years ago, and you said that they had to put it in cast. Can you remember, roughly how long it was in cast for?
About 6 weeks, I think.
Okay, and then they cut the cast off, did they? And you said they took another X-ray and said it was all fine.
It was all good, yeah.
So you kind of got that confirmation that everything was fine. So they cut the cast off. What was your ankle like to move then?
It was quite stiff, and it was sore for a bit.
But what did you do?
Well, I went to physio, and they kind of told me to start moving it, and gradually it got there.
And that was because you kept moving it, even though it was a bit sore?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just kept kind of doing the exercises often, and it kind of slowly movement came back.
Great. And back to no different, but quite often what we need is someone to confirm, a bit like you had with your X-ray when you fractured healed, that actually your back is strong, safe and ready to move, that there is no significant structural pathology which we need to kind of get investigated, and that's hopefully what we'll do today.
Okay, great. Thank you.